We are oh, it's almost Valentine's Day. Ooh. And we are rolling on February 13th, one day short of Valentine's Day. Ooh, yeah. Where we're about to hear from CPAD, who's going to talk to us about the Saudi Arabia and Iran being on the brink of war. And the sunshine is sort of shining, and you may begin.
So there's no doubt that one of the biggest global threats facing us today is global terrorism. You have all these attacks. They used to be confined to the Middle East and North Africa, but especially nowadays they're coming to the West. You see them in Belgium, London, California, and Orlando. And one of the things that I've been doing is that, if I'm ever in a public place, I don't know if I'm just paranoid, if I'm ever in a public place and, there's a ton of people, I always think to myself, what if? What if some guy came in through that door or that entrance, what would I do? And so I'm constantly thinking to myself, if someone did come from there, where would I hide? I don't know if I'm the only one that's been doing this recently. But the reason I bring this up is that along with answering today's question, whether Saudi Arabia and Iran are at the brink of war, I also want to highlight that global terrorism in these countries in the Middle East aren't so disconnected as they may seem. Oftentimes they're very connected, and I hope that's one of the things I can teach you today. So today I want to answer the question whether Saudi Arabia and Iran are on the brink of war. My thesis is mixed in that they're unlikely to be at direct war with each other, but we do see evidence of a proxy war in Yemen and Syria. But the three reasons that they won't be at direct war with each other is because, one, they're both Muslim nations, two, the Iranian people are tired of war, and three, the effect of such a war on the global economy and oil prices. The significance of this is, one, the economy, as I just said, and two, the casualties. We've seen a lot of people die because of global terrorism, but also you have these proxy wars in the Middle East, so there's also the human life perspective of it. Okay, so before I get into my three main reasons why they won't be at direct war with each other, I do want to provide evidence of proxy wars. So in the Middle East, you have three main superpowers. You have Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq. And especially after the Iraq war, Iraq is no longer a player. And so between Saudi Arabia and Iran, you have them trying to get as most power as possible. And the reason you try to expand your sphere of influence and power is because in times of war you have more influence, you have more support. So you see Iran, Reuters reports in 2014, Iran supporting the Assad regime. And on the other side, Reuters also reporting in 2015, Saudi Arabia, along with the U.S., supporting the rebel forces in Syria. In Yemen, it's kind of the opposite situation where Saudi Arabia is helping the government, and then Iran is providing aid to the rebel forces. So this is my evidence of there being proxy wars in the region. But now to my three main reasons as to why they won't be at direct war with each other. One was they're both Muslim nations, and Al Jazeera reports in 2017 about how they had reopened in Saudi Arabia. There's Mecca, the big cube, the big black cube. It's a big part of one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And every year there's a pilgrimage to there. So Al Jazeera reports how they had reopened it to Iranian pilgrims, and that was important. And the reason I use that as a reason, it just shows that, even though the tensions between the two countries are very high, they do hold a religion together, and so that bond is very important to them. And also, at a practical standpoint, you're never going to see Iran sending missiles to Saudi Arabia, where there's a lot of holy sites there. Now, my second reason is that the Iranian people are tired of war. We saw the protests a couple weeks ago, in Washington Post in 2018, early 2018, talked about the protests, how these are economic protests, about how the government is spending too much money overseas in foreign wars while people are suffering domestically in the country. And the reason I provide this as a reason why they won't be at direct war with each other is because since war is unpopular, they're not going to want to go to war. My third reason is the economic reason. These are two oil-producing countries, and so they don't want to. And so, if the West sees that the tensions get so high, CNBC reports in 2017 how a war between these two countries and the effect on oil prices could have a devastating effect on the global economy, and so if tensions got so high, the West would interfere and calm tensions. So in summary, I've shown you 3 reasons why I believe Saudi Arabia and Iran are not at the brink of war. Reason 1, they're both Muslim. Reason 2, the Iranian people are tired of war. And reason 3, the effect of such a war on the global economy. But I've also provided evidence that there is evidence of proxy wars in Yemen and Syria. So in conclusion, there should be no doubt in this room that Saudi Arabia and Iran will not be a direct war with each other. And as a tie back, I talked about terrorism and how it related to these countries, and it just goes, I hope one of the things I showed you is that these countries, in supporting their interests and expanding their influence, could lead to a rise in global terrorism. Thank you.
Thank you. What was the time?
5:13.
What?
5:13.
5:13. Very nice. Okay.
I totally forgot to walk. I was so focused on getting through it, I forgot to walk. Sorry.
Okay. Well, we'll point these things out in a moment. C-Pan. Let's start with Camilla. Is it Camilla or Camille?
Camilla.
Camilla.
Hi everyone, I'm Camilla.
Hi, Camilla.
I thought it was nice how conversational it seemed. So it seemed like it was genuine and it was easy for us to listen because it didn't seem rehearsed.
Right.
Probably until I felt rushed, huh? And then it seemed too fast.
Yeah.
That was obvious.
You saw your times and go, let me say something about conversational. It's good up to a point. You want to work on a little bit of an emphatic style of delivery, especially so your narrative comes out, so we know what part you're at, and there's a little bit more emphasis, because conversational is good, but can also, after a while, we get bored. And don't bore us, okay? Yes, please.
As she said, like it was...
Name.
Oh, hi, my name is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
You were very clear with the way you talk. I could completely understand you. The only thing was just obviously you already mentioned is making sure to walk 3 times so you can scan across the room so everyone feels like they're being talked to. But other than that, it's fun.
Right.
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do we walk 3 times? So that we work every part of the room, so we're more interesting as a speaker. A static thing just sitting there. I was furious at my debaters over the weekend. The senior debaters came out from behind the podium, and you noticed that, Haley? And did a very good job. The novices hid behind this big, humongous podium, and you could hardly see their heads. And it was very disappointing. So you want to move your hands, your arms, work this side of the room, work this side of the room. Don't be static. Let me talk about, you have the basic style down pretty good, except for the thing I talked about making the narrative a little bit.
What do you mean by that?
By the parts you're on. So I'm going to have
2 minutes.
3 things I'm going to talk to you about. And this is really significant because now my first point of why there won't be a war, see, my second point, and so we know exactly where you are with your voice. I say lose the piece of paper, it hurt your credibility. Let me talk a little bit about your analysis. Generally, it was pretty good. They've opened up Mecca, okay. We'll see how long that lasts, but yeah, that's okay. One thing I want to comment on, by the way, I liked your introduction. It was very real and human. Paranoid, yes, but maybe you have reasons to be paranoid. Checking out, what exit am I going to use? How am I going to get out of this area? And I think if you're living in Israel, you would want to be doing that a lot more. one of the things that I will disagree with you on is about your Saudi Arabia and Iran, and your putting so much weight on the popular will. Do you really think the popular will matters much to the rulers?
I think it might be like the U.S. where you're engaged in conflicts but not wars.
Yeah, but these are totalitarian governments that don't really, they're not getting reelected next year, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be my concern there. You followed the Chicago style nicely, and you introduced your recent evidence very effectively. I would like to see you walk 3 times and lose the hat. Thank you. Hi. Power center of the room. Come closer, Melanie. We're outside, so you need to project a little bit more, and so we can hear you. But let's go ahead and begin. Whenever you're ready.
Hi guys, I'm Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
So quick question for you all. How many of you would say that you agree with President Trump? Not even that like you're his biggest fan, just that like you don't totally disagree with everything he's doing. Okay, so looking around, I say that's a little bit of a problem. And because of that, I'm going to try to tackle the question, what are 3 ways that President Trump can improve his approval ratings? And this is important because, like, you guys are the American people, and your president is supposed to serve you. And so it's really important that you approve of him. And honestly, the re-election is in your hands, and you guys vote, so he needs to step up his game if he wants to get re-elected. So 3 ways that I think that he can improve his approval ratings is with a new attitude, 2, a new message, and 3, new allies. So here's a little bit more about that. So first, looking at statistics, according to Ronald Brown from CNN on September 5th, 2017, President Trump has an approval rating of 39%, which is the lowest of any president. And 7 out of 10 people wildly disagree that his behavior is suited for office. So I think that President Trump needs to appeal to the people as a person, but also as a president. He needs to humble himself down a little bit, leave Twitter to the professionals, frankly, and just pull himself away from the controversy, because that's a huge problem that we're having. So with his new image and persona, he needs to create a new message, and that's point number 2. So he needs to give the media something else to talk about. According to Pew Research from December 2017, 62% of coverage on Trump is negative. So more than half of reporters, both on the Republican-leaning side and the liberal left-leaning side, are just bashing him on the media. And Newsweek reporter Greg Price says that the stock market and 4% unemployment rate, and honestly, 51% believe the economy is good, and that's the highest it's been in 11 years. So Trump needs to shift his message a little bit and give people more to talk about, because frankly, a lot of the times they're talking about his character more than the policies. And that's actually at a rate of 62%, according to CBS John Geller from 2017. So with the new message of progress and promise that people are begging to hear from their president, because we're all humans, we worry about financial burdens, and we want to know that we have some hope in this country, and we want to remember that when we're being pulled to, ask about our approval ratings. He needs to set up a message of promise and progress so that the American people can find hope in their president. And along with the new message, number 3 to increase approval ratings would be to gain a new ally, and that would be with the media. So like I was saying earlier, 62% of the media and 6 in 10 stories are disappointing with Trump. So he needs to gather together a new relationship with the media, partly by pulling back from Twitter and allowing the coverage to become more about policy than his persona. So in conclusion, I just gave you guys 3 ways I think Trump can increase his approval ratings, and that comes from a new attitude, a new message, and a new ally with the media. And also, after all, I think this is really important because the people have a really
big say in what they believe their president should be doing and how he should be acting. And he is the leader of the free country, and that's a really big role to take. But he was elected for that, and more than 39% of people should be approving of the way he's acting, the words he's saying, and the way he communicates with people in a knowledgeable and intelligent way, which can be very easily accomplished through the media should he try to define these 3 characteristics of himself that are so far failing if less than 50% of people are saying that he's doing the right thing as president. Thank you.
Thank you, staff, there for your feedback, Melanie.
402.
402. Okay. Yes, please. Stand up, say your name, and give her a compliment.
I'm Elizabeth, and
What's your name?
Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
I really liked how you kept your message very positive, and I thought that was really good because you made it sort of like, well, just you kept the message positive. I like that.
Okay, improvement.
Hi, my name is Jihad.
Hi, Jihad.
Like she said, your message was very positive, and I really liked that. The one thing is that when you were moving a lot back and forth, just like swaying. So try to keep a firm base. I don't know why we do that specifically. I guess it makes it seem more credible, but like dilly-dallying back and forth makes it a little hard to focus on the speech and more so.
Right. Let's start with that, Melanie. Let's learn the power stance, which is feet wider than your shoulders. So you're like a tripod, see?
Okay.
And a tripod is hard to tip over. It's a more powerful stance. When you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you will see you went over here, try to work this side of the room, but didn't want to stay there. I came back to the middle and then went back over there again, and we're kind of pacing. You come over there and work this side of the room, come and plant yourself in the power stance after you take 3 steps to the right, 5 steps to the left, plant yourself in the power stance and talk to them, and then 3 steps to the right back to center, plant yourself in the power stance and talk to the whole group as an ending. So I'd really like to see you...
Can we put her through the eye contact drill?
What?
Can we put her...
Yeah, I really think so, yeah. And I really think that if you practice walking, I know that sounds funny, but it would really help your credibility. Likewise, lose the piece of paper. Go to a card if you have to, but God gave you a great memory. It's a muscle. Use it. Do your speech 6 times. Memorize a 7-part outline. It's a really easy one to remember. An intro, a thesis, a significant statement, a main body, a summary, a conclusion, and a tie back. We're going to use it every time for all the rest of our speeches, so do it. Okay, let's do the eye contact drill because that helps your credibility. Communication research suggests that most people are comfortable with about 5 seconds of eye contact, 3 to 5 seconds. Let's just start over here with Camilla and work your way around the room and stay in the power stance. Take your 3 steps to the left, to your left. 1, 2, 3. Get in the power stance. Yeah, feet a little wider. Yeah. Now, tell Camilla about your morning.
Okay.
And I'm going to tap, and if you blink, I start the clock over again. So no blinking.
Okay.
Okay? And can you get your hair out of your face? Yeah, put it behind your ears. Wear a bungee cord to class so your hair is back like that, so it's better. Okay, begin.
Hi, Camilla. How are you? Okay, so this morning I woke up really early because I had to get to work by 8:30, and we're actually doing remodeling at the office I work at right now. So I had to move 100 boxes, which was really exhausting, and I kind of wore some heeled boots, so that was probably not my greatest idea in the whole world. But my boss brought in her puppy, who I have no idea what kind of a mix it is, but it's so cute, and it just runs down the office wagging its tail, which is hilarious because there's also like all this construction work everywhere. And then I came home and saw my roommate who had a really hard midterm, so she was not the happiest, and it was a little bit funny because I was kind of stressed about this speech. So it kind of helped a little bit that she wasn't having the greatest day ever, but I'm also kidding because I love her and I never want her to have a hard time doing her midterms because she also studied really hard for it. But that's why I'm a comm major, not an econ major, because I don't know how she does the math that she does. And then I saw my other two roommates who are twins, and they're hilarious, and they were tagging each other in memes even though they were sitting on the couch right next to each other. And I was laughing at them even though I had no idea what they were tagging themselves in because it was really funny.
Okay, good. Now, did you feel the difference?
Yeah.
You feel the connection.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of connection you want to have with your audience.
Okay.
And because if you're just going or over the tops of their heads and raising it around, you're not connecting with anybody. You're not bringing it home. Let me talk about your
2
analysis. 2 minutes, and I'll get through this quickly. Let me put it this way. You're right on one level. President Trump brings a lot of trouble on himself. But the fallacy is that the news media, all he has to do is play nice with them, and they'll suddenly love him. My judgment is they detest him. And the recent Harvard study, the Pew study, you probably know these best from your comm classes. We've never had this kind of negative coverage of a president in modern history. This is a vendetta. They're going after everything. And just last night when he had his stimulus package, they said, it's likely to run up the deficit. Identical stimulus package from President Obama 4 years earlier says, this stimulus package is likely to bring wonderful things to climate change and other things like that. Same stimulus package. AP, the so-called fair, balanced news report. They have no axe to grind. They have an axe to grind now. So I'm not so sure about your analysis that if President Trump plays nice, that the media will be nice back. Tell your sources at the beginning and stress the dates with your voice. So CBS, CNBC in 2017 reported like that. Otherwise, it was a good job. Let me end on a positive note. You're a very pleasant speaker, and so that's something you shouldn't lose. Do you have a comment? Yeah.
One thing, do you talk naturally fast? Yeah, so what I notice when I do the same thing and prepare for speech is that whenever I practice, I always end up giving the speech way faster than I practice. So what I would do is make sure you breathe, and when you walk, take your time, don't necessarily rush, and just relax. Because people with motor mouths, we can't control them once we get in the flow. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you.
And Melanie, you came in at 4 minutes on a 5-minute, 15-second speech you're allowed to spend. So use all your time to really make it count. Okay? Thank you, Melanie. Okay.
Volunteers.
Is there any more first timers? Oh, let me see my roll. No, everyone's done one Extemp speech, correct? In the room, yeah? In the room. What a glorious room we have, yeah. Okay, well then let's have a second Extemp speech. Do we have a volunteer? Yeah.
Alrighty.
Mr. Hip Hop himself. Okay, yeah.
Here you go. So just one qualification for my speech. So the topic said, should Roger Goodell's extension be, or contract be extended? And it already has been extended, so I changed to should it have been extended.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
One step closer.
You can stop it, right?
Good, yeah.
Good deal. One step closer. Yeah. And remember to project, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Do you have to wear your coat?
So, it's kind of cold.
Okay.
If you don't want me to.
Yeah, it's better without
Okay.
it. It'll make you more perky.
Okay. Sounds good.
Nice debate shirt.
All right.
Next to
Reposition.
that,
Is that
you
good?
look like a Michelin man in your coat.
Good.
Okay. He stands before you managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to himself as he looks around the room, I really respect my audience, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arun.
Hi, Arun.
Now, I want you to think back to your experience just about a week and a half ago. Maybe some of you were grinding for midterms, or maybe some of you were watching the Super Bowl and eating copious amounts of gluttonous food, sapping on brews, hanging out with friends and family, and more importantly, watching Brady and Belichick lose. But there are broader implications behind all those festivities that affect the NFL's politics. And that's what the question here today is should have Roger Goodell or the NFL commissioner, i.e. the manager's extension, been extended to 2023? And the answer is a strong and resounding no. And it's for three-pronged reasons. Number one, he hasn't done much to address the concussion issues that are prevalent in the NFL. Number two, he has had a failure to address big and major scandals in the NFL. And number three, he has disproportionately allocated punishments in regards to NFL players and personnel. But before I go into your speech, why do I deserve your ears for the next 3 minutes? And the answer is simple. Maybe one day, when or if you guys have kids, you guys have to make that important decision to let your child play in one of America's favorite pastimes, American football. And the NFL policies is a trickle-down policy, where those policies affect college policies, which affect high school football policies, which affect Pop Warner policies. So it is very important to listen to the speech and understand why exactly Roger Goodell's extension should not have been extended through 2023. And that leads on to my first point. He hasn't done enough to address concussion issues. Now, according to the Washington Times, on an article dated back to July 2017, out of 202 brains studied, 172 of them found major brain damage issues. So it's clear that there's major correlation between concussions and CTE or brain damage for football players. But Roger Goodell hasn't done enough to address these issues. For example, there's right now technology to improve helmets that's available to protect players from these concussion-related injuries. Yet he has not made any initiative to instigate those programs or to instigate those helmets. Furthermore, this hasn't been known just in 2017. Back in 2011, when Junior Seau committed suicide, it was a clear correlation that his extreme brain damage due to the NFL was one of his tendencies that caused him to commit suicide. So this wasn't a recent issue that has been known. It has been known since 2011, yet Roger Goodell has done nothing to address it. But it doesn't stop there. It extends on to my second point, and that is he has a history of not accounting for scandals, or a failure to account for scandals. So according to the New York Post, in a report back in February of 2017, Roger Goodell, before Tom Brady was given due process, determined the guilt of Tom Brady. So let me elaborate. So there were allegations that Tom Brady, during a playoff game, deflated a football. And before he was given due process by an NFL panel of judges, Roger Goodell, who's supposed to be an impartial person as the commissioner, went to the press conferences and already predetermined the guilt and said Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were guilty. Now that moves on to my third point, that he disproportionately allocates punishments to NFL players and personnel. And this comes from a report from Adam Schefter in December of 2017, which he claimed that Roger Goodell does not take into account domestic violence issues. Now let me elaborate. Let me give you one comparison. Just in 2014, there was one guy named Greg Hardy. He was a linebacker on the Dallas Cowboys. And there was incontrovertible evidence that he hit his wife multiple times. Yet Roger Goodell, seeing these pictures, still allowed him to play. But let's take another example from that same exact year. There were two players named Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount, who were caught with marijuana in their car. Marijuana joints, not blunts, in their car. Yet they served a suspension of 4 games combined. And eventually, Greg Hardy's suspension, the guy who hit his wife multiple times with incontrovertible evidence, his suspension eventually went to 4 games. So there were equal suspensions for such disproportionate, irrational actions. So in summary, I've shown you 3 reasons why Roger Goodell's extension should not have been extended till 2023. And there should be no doubt in this room that Roger Goodell's extension should not have been extended. So next time you guys are all sitting around and enjoying a game of football, I want you guys to understand that there are broader implications being at play that are affecting the lives and the livelihood of NFL players and personnel. Thank you.
507.
507. Okay, we're somewhere. Yes, sir.
I was
Stand up. Say your name.
Alan.
Hi, Alan.
Hi. I just have to say, you brought it. It was a lot of energy. The gestures were on point. I'll just say it was an awesome speech.
He brought it.
Yep.
I like that expression. I'll start you. I'll steal it from you. He brought it. Yes, sir. I mean, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Sarita.
Stand up, please. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarita. I really liked your speech. I thought you did really well. I don't really see any... Maybe the only thing you can improve on is instead of just kind of like standing in one place and just focusing your attention there, just kind of like be neutral and kind of look over to the side.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
2 minutes.
When you are looking and focusing on the right side of the room and looking up at the C-pan, etc., give a glance over at Camilla and then over to me and then back over and still work this room more so that this side doesn't feel so excluded for 2 minutes. That's what you're talking about, isn't it? Yeah. Really loved the speech, with one exception, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but thank you for changing it to making it pertinent and relevant. Yeah. So that worked nicely. Your significant statement was excellent. You brought it home to everybody who, their kids. God, I hope no one in this room lets their kids play any of those sports, including soccer, because there's a lot of head injuries and they're for life, and it's crazy. Remind me after class to tell you an interesting story.
1 minute.
I don't have the time now. The concussion issue was good, and you weren't strong enough. It wasn't just that he didn't do anything about it. He slid it under the rug for years. He knew. I don't know if you saw that documentary on HBO, but he knew.
Yeah.
And he just goes, Mr. Blind.
Yeah.
The scandal I didn't get very excited about. That wasn't very compelling.
Yeah, that was like more time issue. I saw the 2 minutes. I kind of started rushing.
That was
I could have elaborated more.
Weeds, kind of, and that wasn't so tricky. But the third one on the
Wrap it up.
What?
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Yeah. The third one, though, on the differences in their punishment. And when you get down to the summary, I told you 3 reasons, and there should be no doubt in this room your conclusion, and then tie it back. And I meant to say to Melanie, you mixed up the word summary and conclusion in your speech. I forgot to tell you that. But when you watch yourself on YouTube, you'll see. You said, in conclusion, and then you gave your summary. Okay? So summary is a summary, a conclusion is a conclusion. My one thing I wish you had talked about is how he handled the most interesting and contentious issue happening around there now is, let's take a knee.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Other than that, really excellent job. You brought it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next. Okay, yes please. Rock and roll. We lost a rune. Okay.
Hello.
Monitor that.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm Elizabeth.
The battery.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Is Jared Kushner the smartest man on earth? That may seem silly, but it's a question that John Oliver asked in April 2017. And it's actually relevant, considering he's been charged with making peace in the Middle East, resolving criminal justice problems, and heading up the Office of American Innovation, which no one really knows what the hell is, but it's something about the opioid crisis and prison reform. So, why is this important? Because Jared Kushner is Donald Trump's senior advisor, and he doesn't even quite have security clearance. My position is that it is vitally important for all of you to understand. I'm first going to start with talking about
why he's not the smartest man on earth.
Why he's not the smartest man. I'm going to first talk. My first point is that
Restraining influences, yeah. Family business.
Family business, then
And hobnobbing with the commies. Russians. You want to take a seat and regather your thoughts again, Elizabeth? Okay. Sounds like you're just blanking all the way through here. You have your notes there? Yeah, okay. Don't worry about it, Elizabeth. Happens to all of us. Yeah, okay. I'll just take a little interlude here to talk about certain people have leadership styles where they like to have their family around them because they feel they can trust them. But it really rubs a lot of people the wrong way when they appear to be marginally competent. And they're put in positions of great authority and power, etc. Okay, let's go on to someone else for their second extemp. Yes, thank you.
I was speaking.
You want the roll sheet? Who has the roll sheet? Did everyone sign the roll sheet? Here, sign her in. Oh yeah, don't look at Who has the roll sheet?
It's right there.
He has it, yes. Haley, can you sign?
Are you upset that we're doing other things and listening to you? Okay. Do I have your outline?
I just handed it to you.
You did? Okay, well, it must be in my thick package here. There it is. Okay. Okay. Sarah stands before you in the power stand. Nicely put. Managing attention. Communicating respect non-verbally. Saying to herself, I respect my audience, and really means it. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Gamila Amansub is 5 years old, and she's been asking her mother the same question for years. When are we going to see Dad? After a lengthy vetting process, Gamila and her family were almost to the other side. Away from a war-torn country, and most importantly, to finally see their father, who is a U.S. citizen. On the same day that they got their visas approved, Donald Trump's latest travel ban went into effect. Instead of a happy reunion with their father, they were just left with tears. And this is a story provided by The Guardian, posted in January of 2018. Today, I want to answer the question, will Donald Trump's latest travel ban survive legal challenges? My answer is that it will not, because it conflicts with provisions in the immigration law, it does not meet the requirements of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and lastly, it has an unconstitutional purpose of discriminating against those who are Muslim. There is significance in this matter because the Supreme Court's ruling has a significant pronouncement on the
chief executive's power on deciding on who may enter our country. They have the power to end a ban that ignores the Constitution and our fundamental values of religious freedom, which ultimately affects us all. Now, while the Supreme Court has leaned in favor of the administration so far, the legal battle is far from over. So my first reason on why it will not survive legal challenges is because it conflicts with provisions in immigration law. According to an Los Angeles Times article posted January of 2018, there's a provision that was enacted in 1952, and it states that the president may suspend entry of any class of aliens for such period of time he shall deem necessary. Now, Trump's lawyers have depended on this clause has relied on this clause, claiming that it gives the president nearly every unchecked power, and especially during national emergencies where they need to screen on who's coming in and out of the country to find out who would be a potential threat to national security. However, during the Civil Rights era, in 1965, a provision was enacted that states that those who are seeking immigrant visas cannot be discriminated against by their sex, their race, their nationality, place of birth, or place of residence. So, while the president was given broad powers in 1952, these powers were ultimately limited in 1965. Now that brings me to my second reason on why Trump's latest travel ban will not survive legal challenges. And that's because his ban has not met the Act's requirements of finding based on reason or evidence that travel from these 8 countries would harm the United States rather than Trump just declaring that it would. According to a Washington Post January 2018 article, Trump's administration has been unable to provide to suggest any sort of connection between a person's nationality and the likelihood of his or her being a threat. In order to block entry, the president must make a legally sufficient finding that the entry of the individual will be detrimental to the interests of the United States, which he hasn't done so. This conflicts with the Immigration and Nationality Prevention of Discrimination on the issuance of immigrant visas based on nationality. Now, my third reason. The third reason that Trump's latest travel ban will not survive legal challenges is because it has an unconstitutional purpose of discriminating against those who are Muslim. According to a New York Times article from January 2018, lawyers are challenging the ban that have used Trump's own statements that provide evidence of his hostility towards Muslims, and that each ban that he issues has the same aim of trying to keep Muslims out. Even before his latest ban, Trump said himself that he wanted a tougher, a specific, and a larger ban, and he would stick to it regardless if it was politically correct or not. Additionally, according to a Washington Post article posted in 2017, the federal district in Maryland blocked the ban because of discrimination against Muslims, because the ban bars all or most entry from Muslim-majority countries. They even have used Trump's teams in his statement equating the territorial ban in all versions of the ban with the Muslim ban that Trump advocated for during his 2016 campaign. This ruling reinforces that this ban is vulnerable to legal challenges. In summary, I have shown you the 3 reasons on why Trump's latest travel ban will not survive legal challenges, being that it conflicts with provisions in immigration law, it does not meet the requirements of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and lastly, it has an underlying unconstitutional purpose of discriminating against those that are Muslim. There should be no doubt in this room that this ban is legally flawed and won't survive when the Supreme Court makes a decision this April. When someone is down, you knock them back up. This ban does the quite opposite. It is not only immoral, but it is flawed. And remember, injustice anywhere is injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. 5 minutes. 5 minutes for Sarah.
And then just say when you knock someone down, you lift them up.
Well, we knew what you meant.
So I kind of like messed that up, but like you get the point.
Yes, we do. Haley, what'd you like?
I really liked your story in the beginning. The attention getter was really good. And overall, you just like had a really calm, like your voice was really easy to listen to, and you did the movements really well, so I liked it.
What was my 10?
5 flat.
Improvement, please.
Hi, I'm Zoe.
Hi, Zoe. Stand up, Zoe. It's a speech class.
Hi, everyone. My name's Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
And Sarah, I really liked your speech overall, especially the intro part. It like emotionally appeals to all of us, even for some of those who are not immigrants. My only comment is that I think your eye kind of like drifted away when you were like facing this part of the audience, and it just kind of looks like you're a little bit distracted when you're not. So yeah.
Sarah really solidly argued a speech, which I really liked and enjoyed. You're kind of tightly wound up when you get to class every day. I don't know if it's coffee. I don't know if you need yoga or meditation. You're just very tightly wound up. You need to take a chill pill. Okay? Because you really got this out in a very intense way. And that's okay. There's a certain passion to it that I like, but you're really tightly wound up. I just want to give you that feedback and see if you don't see what I mean when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube. Well, you talked about a 5-year-old, and it was a very touching story. I was waiting for the 5-year-old to get mentioned. Tie back with the reunion. 1 minute. That would have been real vivid.
Well, unfortunately, there hasn't been a reunion, and that's the whole point.
Well, you say this reunion is still waiting.
Okay, sorry.
I think it helps your credibility to refer to the President of the United States as President Trump. That's just me. I said the same thing when people called President Obama and President Bush.
I think I have President written down there, but just like when you're talking.
Yeah, you called him Trump nearly always. Okay. Your arguments were very solid. You were on a very strong legal basis about first the law they're relying on has been modified, so whoops. He hasn't provided compelling information yet that
wrap it up.
He should be able to ban people from these countries. And the third one from the New York Times, well, yeah. That's, New York Times is suspicious these days, but, yeah. That whole thing, I just want to wrap up on it. Your arguments were strong, tough limits, and your summary, your conclusion, the only thing I titled your tie back. The thing that begs the question that the Supreme Court is going to, and I predict they're going to have to wrestle with this, they're not going to take away all of the president's power to do some more severe vetting than President Obama did. He's going to be allowed to do some more vetting. It's not going to be stripped from him totally. And so your speech, while it wasn't supposed to address that question, in some ways begged that question of, are there certain undesirables in the world that we have a right to keep out? I don't care if they're Muslims, Jews, or whatever, purple, greenies, or brownies, or whatever color you want to, whiteys, whatever color you want to say. But does the country have a right to control their borders? Tell us if you're for open borders and that everyone should come in. I don't think you believe that, right? So your speech begged that question, but really an excellent speech, Sarah. Just take a chill pill for the next speech, okay?
I'll take my medication next time.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bird is dropping stuff on us.
It's the crows.
Motherfucking crows. Okay. Alright, next. You want to wait a little while longer? Okay. Alright, let's have another speech. You ready, baby? Yeah, good. Thank you.
Should I take my jacket off too?
Excuse me?
Should I take my jacket
Yeah,
off?
take your jacket off, yeah. Oh, God. Oh my God! What the man? They're like little hand grenades, huh? Students injured in freak accident from tree. This tree falls, yeah. Okay. All right. Ramin stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi guys, my name is Ramin.
Hi Ramin.
So most people would say that steroids and tax cuts are unrelated, because they are. But they do serve as a good metaphor. Steroids can be prescribed by physicians to an ill patient, and they can be life-saving. But if prescribed to a healthy person, they can have detrimental effects and can even be fatal. The same can be said about tax cuts in a healthy economy. On December 22nd of 2017, President Donald Trump signed into law the Republican tax plan that's been floating around for a few months now. The tax plan itself and its merits have been debated for the past few months, but the central tenets of it, which is trickle-down economics, have been argued and debated about for the past decades. Today, I'm going to talk to you about whether or not this tax plan will actually stimulate the economy. President Trump and his administration, when they first unveiled the tax plan, argued that they were going to instill three things: that it wouldn't be a tax cut for the rich, that it would be a significant tax cut for the middle class, and that it wouldn't add to the deficit. Today, I argue to you that this tax plan will not stimulate the economy, because it will add to the deficit while being a significant tax cut for the rich and without providing a substantial middle class tax cut. I know taxes generally aren't a fun topic, but this is going to directly affect how much of your paycheck goes to the government, how much funding there is for public schools like UCLA, and just the economic state of the country that you live in. So with that being said, my first reason that Trump's tax plan will not be effective in stimulating the economy is that it will be a significant tax cut for the rich. Gary Cohen, Trump's top economic advisor, went on Good Morning America on September 28th and said that this is not a tax cut for the rich. However, the Tax Policy Center, an independent analysis company, ran an analysis on September 27th, the day before Cohen went on Good Morning America, and stated that the biggest tax cuts will be for the highest income earners. Now, you might ask, why is that a problem? The reason this is a problem is according to an IMF study from June of 2015. When the top 20%'s share of the economy and income goes up, the median GDP declines, basically negating the idea of trickle-down working. The second reason that this tax cut will not be effective in stimulating the economy is that it does not provide a substantive tax cut for the middle class. According to a Washington Post article from November 29th, only 44% of Americans will see a tax cut of more than $500 in 2019. Trump himself, President Trump even said on the campaign trail that he wants a 35% tax cut for the middle class. But according to the Tax Policy Center's analysis that I mentioned earlier, only 44% of Americans are getting this tax cut in 2019 over $500, and on top of that, it's only temporary. It's only going to be there for 8 years. Again, why is this an issue? A University of Chicago study from June 4th of 2015 stated that the stimulative effects of a tax cut are dependent mainly upon the tax cuts for the bottom 90%, and that any empirical link between employment growth and taxes for the top 1% are weak to negligent. Lastly, the third reason that these tax cuts will not be effective in stimulating the economy is that they'll add to the deficit. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, claimed not only that this will not add to the deficit, but he also said that he thinks this plan will reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. However, the Tax Policy Center's analysis from September 27th of 2017 has stated that over the next decade, this will add $2.4 trillion to the deficit. In the past 9 years, we've cut the deficit by 2/3. And I really don't think that this is the direction we should be moving in. So, in summary, I've shown you 3 reasons why I think that this tax plan will not be effective in stimulating the economy. It will add to the deficit while being a huge tax cut for the rich and not being a substantive tax cut for the middle class. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I'm sure you can agree that there's a better way to go forward with this. In conclusion, there should be no doubt in this room that we can find a better way, regardless of partisan ideologies, to stimulate the American economy. Do we really want to pump an already healthy economy with low unemployment and booming GDP with unnecessary steroids? I don't think so. Thank you.
4:11.
What was this time?
4:11.
4:11. It's like 9:11, only 4:11. Okay. Where are we? Somewhere over here, yeah. Yeah, your turn.
Hi, I'm Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
Something I thought that was really good about it is I think taxes are kind of something that's hard to talk about it. Really complicated, convoluted, like you never really know what anyone's saying, especially in the language. And I don't want to say that you dumbed it down, but you kind of did. Like you made it really easy to understand, and it sounded like I followed your logic. And for someone that doesn't know as much as I probably should about taxes, like that was really helpful to like listen to it like that.
Yeah. He acknowledged in a significant statement that Alfred Hitchcock the bird was about to be attacked. He admitted in a significant statement, and you should all remember this, that there's a chapter in your book on how to effectively use and deal with statistics, but you know, this can be really eye-glazing for a lot of people. Economy, God, gross national product, you know, and they're gone. So you did a pretty good job of overcoming that. Improvement.
I really liked your speech overall.
Stand up.
Oh, I'm Irlanda. I don't want to fall over.
Okay, your name is Yolanda?
Irlanda.
Elanda. Hi, Elanda.
Hi. I really enjoyed your speech. I thought it was very solid. I liked the logic. In terms of improvement, I think maybe just work on like keeping a power stance for a bit. But overall, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Well,
2 minutes, you got Jimmy.
2 minutes, yeah, I'll zip through this. I mean, you did a good job as far as it goes, but I think you weren't very fair-minded to the president's arguments or some other facts in the economy. Let's just go run through this. I liked your metaphor of the steroids of the rich and this sort of thing. And you characterized it as trickle-down economics. I'm not sure that was so accurate, you know. But